we take two characters from two different novels and put them in one scenario.
Teo from Ceremony and Athea from Homegoing.
First, we will be analyzing Teo's character to understand the events that shaped his life. The three main events that we found in the book were his exposure to war, his meeting with Tish, and him finishing the ceremony itself. It all started when Teo entered World War II, where he developed PTSD after having to shoot a Japanese soldier that reminded him of his uncle, as well as having to carry out his cousin Rocky from a prisoner of war camp, where he learned that his cousin would not make it and had to move on with his own life. And the regret that he felt not being able to save him. When Teo first met Tish, his life was very full of darkness, but she soon taught him about the meaning of life and that there was light in even the darkest places. You could say that it was fate that they met, because old Bettany, the man who performed the ceremony that worked on Teo, told him to look for a constellation that would bring a significant change to his life. And this constellation led him to the base of Mount Taylor, where Tish lived. So Teo went to see multiple medicine men in hopes that they could perform a ceremony that would help him to overcome his PTSD and understand his life needed to move on a little bit. After the war, he felt so stuck in bad memories and flashbacks of regret that the ceremony had to teach him of nature's variance and that the rain would come back just as his happiness would come back. After this event, Teo learned the purpose of life and became a happy person. The ceremony was complete when Teo steps back from killing Ema and retreats to end the cycle of violence. He entailed mentally and physically. The three main encounters in his life taught him to focus on the good and the bad, as well as leading his life with purpose and positivity, learning that everything in life is a balance.
Second, we will be exploring deeper into Athea from Homegoing to get a better understanding of her character. Athea had to leave everything she ever knew after she was forced to marry a man she barely knew. Not only was she leaving her childhood home, but her family and her friends as well, and now was being put into a new culture where they wanted to change everything about her. Athea's life was affected through the deceitfulness of her mother, her marriage to James, and the new learnings of the British culture. Athea's mother, Baba, told her to hide her period from everyone and only tell her when she got it, keeping her life from moving on with marriage. Baba was only invited in her daughter's life when it suited for her. She forced Athea to hide her period when the time came for her to marry a man. She would be sent away to the castle to marry a white man who would give her family a heavy compensation. Had it not been for her conniving mother, Athea may have married a bhikkhu and never experienced the white soldier's culture. Athea's new experiences brought her a new perspective on life, and her husband James had quickly went from a stranger to someone she cared deeply for. Athea's move to the Cape Coast Castle gave her new experiences to learn from. She is taught to accept the new life she was given by loving James and immersing herself with the other wretches. Athea learned other stories, grew upon the life, and taught herself to be a part of the new culture that she is suddenly immersed in. Throughout Athea's life, she witnessed a lot of people making decisions for her, and was often looked at more like an object to trade than a person. Her family had spent a lot of time deceiving each other and using her for personal gain. Athea learned from all these experiences by going about and making her life for herself, and doing the things she wanted, like exploring the castle, learning to trust and love James, and meeting new friends with different backgrounds throughout the castle. Athea's new life from forced decisions gave her abilities to step up and be her own person, where she had a son and created a happy family in the end.
In a world where two characters combine, Teo from Ceremony and Athea from Homegoing meet at a group therapy session where they express their emotions and go on to how they would deal with these emotions in a modern 2018 day. During the last therapy session of the year, they finally connect and share their ideas of each other's improvement.
Hello, and welcome back. It's nice to see so many familiar faces. I'm so proud of all the progress you've all made in the past months, and today I would like to talk about your personal journeys of overcoming hardships. Throughout the sessions, we've discussed various coping skills, and I'm very certain many of you took these ideas and applied them to your personal lives in the past year, due to all the amazing improvement. For the last session today, we will first go around the room and discuss each of your personal progresses, along with how you face these difficulties, and lastly, explaining how you learn to cope with them. Let's first start with you, Teo. What have you noticed about your progress?
When I first got here, I thought it was useless. No one could understand what I've experienced, what I've witnessed. The only comfort I found was at the bottom of the liquor bottle, and it was slowly killing me. Until I met Tish. Before her, life was dark. My people were experiencing a drought, and I was suffering from severe PTSD. I had gone to several doctors, and nothing was helping. In my darkest moment, I didn't understand why I was the one here, and my uncle and cousin weren't. I was baffled with regret that was eating me alive. I felt responsible for their deaths, and that led me down a really dangerous path. I want you all to know that your drought will end. The rain will come again, in an abundance. You may not know it now, but the hardest moments of your life are not the defining ones. I could not have done it alone, and without the help of Tish and old Bettany, I may not be here. And so I stand here today to let you all know that life goes on.
Thank you, Teo, for sharing. That must have been a very difficult time in your life. I am so grateful that you were able to share your feelings. It's so important to acknowledge your low points and to find the strength to know it is only temporary. You have made so much progress, Teo. Thank you. Is there any volunteers to go next? Effia?
I had a rough childhood and felt alone growing up. A lot of my issues came from the deceitful nature of my parents. My father never told me about my birth mother, and my stepmother was a real witch. She instilled a doubt in me that I thought would always be there. Now, as a mother myself, I realize that she was wrong. I have a purpose in my life, and it is to raise my son and find my own happiness. Although I did not always have this mindset, when I was first forced to move away from my childhood village and marry a man whom I shared nothing in common with, I felt like property. He taught me about his new culture, and even though I began to fall in love with this newfound stranger, I felt like I was betraying my own identity and everything my own family had taught me. But he also brought out a new side of me and taught me so much about my life and happiness. It was very hard to navigate my new life after so much happened, and it was all out of my control. But I discovered that sometimes life has its own plan for you.
Hi, I just wanted to say you're one miraculous woman. I felt alone a lot in my life, and to hear how upsetting it was to have two clashing identities, well, I can relate to that. Because of my native upbringing and culture, people treated me differently when I wasn't in my military uniform. I know how frustrating it is to feel like you've never been your whole self. I also love how you brought up your clashing worlds with your first culture to the second. You were put into a really difficult situation, and it made me think about my life as well.
Yeah, it was something I struggled with for a long time. There were people within the Cape Coast Castle that treated me as if I was not one of them based off of my culture. They were not able to take into account my past and how I now am a part of their culture as well. They still stereotype me with the first culture that I hold dear to my heart. I will forever be Fante, and now British as well.
Was it hard for you to leave a place you had known your whole life? I remember when I left for war, I was excited to start this new adventure, but I was scared to leave the only place I'd ever known.
It was really difficult to be put in the Cape Coast Castle because I had to drop my entire life at home without really getting much time to think about what would be happening to me in a few days. It was also a struggle because at first the people of the castle were not very accepting of my culture, where I had to learn over time where I fit in.
I really understand what you went through because I had a similar experience where I was treated well in my uniform but not recognized without it on.
I'm so glad that you can relate. Having someone else who understands as well is the best feeling.
Let's exchange numbers.
Hey everyone, thank you for attending our sessions. It was great to meet all of you and I hope you made some friends along the way. Remember, I am always a phone call away. Stay in touch, and don't forget, the past does not define your future.